Yes.
Councillor Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Councillor Flood?
Yes.
Councillor Weatherby?
Yes, sorry.
Chair votes yes. That motion passes 6-0 as well. All right, so if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if everyone could take notice of the fire exits in the rear and to my right in case of an emergency, please use the stairs, not the elevator. And now would be a great time to silence your cell phones. I think we could probably eliminate that. I don't think anybody has their phone on anymore. I think we all silence it.
Oh, somebody always does.
But we'll start with a roll call vote, or roll call. Councillor Cherichello?
Here.
Councillor Spencer?
Good evening.
Councillor Katsoukaris?
Good evening.
Councillor Flood? Good evening. Councillor Weatherby?
Good evening.
I know Councillor Foote gives his best. He cannot be at tonight's meeting, but he wishes everyone well. Good evening from the chair. And would like to make a motion, or someone entertain a motion to open public forum.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councillor Weatherby, seconded by Councillor Katsoukaris. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes 6-0. The floor is yours. I'll just remind everyone in the audience, if you would like to speak, please give your name and address for the record. Try to keep it to 13 minutes, or 3 minutes, not 13 minutes.
Jeez.
I was looking at you, Richard.
Move to close.
Seeing none online, Mr. Chair.
If you don't come up and speak now, they're going to close it.
I made a motion to close.
All right, so we have a motion to close and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can't remember the last time that happened.
All right. Moving right along, we have consent agenda item 23-17, the approval of our February 7th, 2023 minutes. Presuming no items are removed from the consent agenda for discussion, would someone like to make a motion?
Accept.
Second.
We have a motion to accept by Councillor Weatherby, seconded by Councillor Spencer. Any discussion? Councillor Cherichello?
Yes.
Councillor Spencer?
Yes.
Councillor Katsoukaris? Councillor Flood? Yes. Councillor Weatherby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. That motion passes 6-0. All right, Chair's report.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move to unseal portions of the non-public minutes from April 5th, 2022, August 2nd, 2022, August 4th, 2022, November 22nd, 2022, and move to unseal all of the non-public minutes from February 15th, 2022, March 15th, 2022, June 7th, 2022, September 6th, 2022, and September 20th, 2022.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to seal those minutes by Councillor Weatherby, a seconded by, to unseal.
Unseal.
Unseal. And second by Councillor Katsoukaris. Any discussion?
Can I just want to confirm, because it's October 4th, 2022. I think you might have said August 4th, just for the record to make sure.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Just so it's on the record,
Yep.
all right dates, but yes.
Okay, thank you, good clarification. Any other points of clarification or discussion? On the motion, Councillor Cherichello?
Yes.
Councillor Spencer?
Yes.
Councillor Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Councillor Flood?
Yes.
Councillor Weatherby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. All right, and then next we have our town clerk, Christina Guilford, presenting. Good evening.
Good evening. All right, so I'm going to give you a rundown of things going on for the upcoming election. So tomorrow night, we're going to have our school candidate forum. Thursday night, town candidate forum. They're both going to be at West Runningbrook, starting at 6:30 p.m. You do have to be present to ask questions. Everyone will be allowed to ask one question. And Owen can give some information on how you can watch it.
Sure. Real briefly, we will be streaming live, of course, on social media and to our online platform at DerryCAM.org. So that's the best way folks are going to just be on the lookout through our social media feed. And we'll have the specific link that folks can click on to watch it streaming on their devices. And of course, we'll be airing it live on both Channel 23 and Channel 17 for Comcast subscribers in Derry.
Great.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to important election dates. What?
Just a question, please. They predict very bad weather for Thursday. Would it be canceled, or is it going to go regardless of?
I think it's going to go. Sounds like the bad weather Wednesday night is going to be starting after the forum starts. So, and Thursday, it seems by Thursday night it's all over. So hopefully we won't have any issues. Rescheduling would definitely be an issue because the schools are closed next week.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And do we know our candidates attending this
So the
time?
school candidates have all confirmed.
Nice.
And on the town side, I have heard from all the town council candidates that they'll be there.
Great.
The town moderator candidates will be there. I will be there. And a couple of the library people will be there.
Perfect.
Very good.
That's the hot race, the librarian.
Yeah.
Who's running the forum, Tina? Are you still running it?
I am.
Okay.
I am. So as school moderator, I'm running the school one, and I'm going to run the town one because I'm unopposed.
Perfect.
Okay, so important dates. February 28th, we'll be doing a new voter registration absentee ballot pickup right here on Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. for anyone that needs to come in late because we're normally open 8 to 4. The last day to register to vote will be March 4th, which is a Saturday from 11 to 11:30. After that, you will have to register on Election Day. And important to note about registering on Election Day. In 2022, our state legislature passed a bill called Senate Bill 418, which creates an affidavit voter. So we ask, if you are registering on Election Day, please bring everything. Bring your photo ID, bring a proof of citizenship, bring proof of domicile, bring everything. The affidavit voter process is getting a tryout tonight in Rochester because they're having their special election today. But you know, we would definitely prefer that you just bring all your paperwork if you are registering on Election Day. Hopefully you can either come March 4th, February 28th, or you can come in during the day here at Town Hall. We are here from 8 to 4 to register to vote. March 8th, right here in this room, we'll be doing our AccuVote machine testing at 10 a.m. And the last day to request an absentee ballot is March 13th, which is on the Monday by 5 p.m. We will be here in case you need to grab a last-minute absentee ballot. The town ballots arrived today. Hopefully the school ballots will arrive tomorrow, and we'll be able to release those and put them on the website and have them everywhere. And that brings us to our next important date, and we can even just move to the next slide, and that's Election Day, which is March 14th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Calvary Bible Church. All districts vote at Calvary. I guess it would be great to have a traffic problem. We usually only get 3,000 some odd voters instead of 12,000, so I don't foresee any issues, but hopefully we'll get a really good turnout. While I'm here, even though it's not about elections, we do have a rabies clinic coming on March 4th, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's for dogs and cats. It is cash only. It's $15. You can get either a 1-year or a 3-year. You do have to bring proof of a previous vaccination for the 3-year. If you need to, you can license your dog while you are here. We are licensing now for 2023 because 2022 licenses will expire on April 30th. And for those of you who have not licensed in a while, now is the time. And if you need your rabies, this is a perfect chance to get it. Do you have any questions?
Yes. I have a 7-pound chihuahua.
Yes.
Never leaves the house.
$15.
Never goes outside. He still has to be registered, right?
Yep.
Wow.
$15.
You're a state legislator,
$15.
Phyllis.
Eight-
It's the law.
Eight-
RSA
8-year
466.
Is it 8 years old and never been registered, right? I'm kidding.
Oh, no, her dog's registered.
Okay, so he's got to be registered even though he never leaves the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We don't do a
thank
town council discount.
No, no,
We don't
sir.
do a town council discount.
Not anymore.
He's only this big. He never leaves the house.
All right, any questions? All good?
Change the
Thank
law.
you, Tina. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
And with that, I'll turn it over to our town manager, Dave Karen.
Okay, thank you. 3 items of note, all dealing with the finance office. Town finances are trending at expectations for most areas, and we're still seeing a growing surplus in interest earned, which is good news for us. Also, the federal government requires us to perform what we call a single audit if we receive grant funds in excess of $750,000. In FY22, we received $978,000 in federal funds, primarily due to that assistance to firefighter grant for the breathing apparatus. That was $497,000. And also, we had a couple of various community development block grants for COVID relief and dairy housing projects totaling $335,000. We had a number of other federal grants which came our way, typically through the state, and so the total is about $978,000. We have included the audit in your packet, which confirms that Mark and his team were in compliance with all federal requirements. And finally, Mark and I presented before the planning board last Wednesday night on the capital improvements plan. Per the charter, that plan needs to be submitted to the council at least 30 days prior to the budget, which needs to be submitted to the council by April 1st. So therefore, you have a copy of the draft plan in your packet. And the council reserves a portion of one of the budget review evenings to review the CIP. Again, the CIP is a planning tool for capital improvements. It doesn't have any legal effect, but it gives us a nice planning tool to make sure that we are attending to the town's needs and also have the ability to fund all these different projects. That's it. Thank you.
And then I just want to, go ahead.
I just want to, a little historical data. What has happened with the CIP since I became a town council. When I first became a town councilor in 2008, outside of the first and second year of the CIP, everything else was a wish list at best. And now we're actually using this as a genuine planning tool and planning things out. And a lot of that is, kudos to Dave, Mark Fleischer, all the department heads. But it's a really valuable tool and is being used as the valuable tool that it should be.
And then I just have to take it back for a minute. I forgot to bring up board commissions and committee openings. So we have a lot of the work that gets done is starts with each of these boards and then, pushes up to our department heads, to our town manager, and then here. So extremely important boards. If you're interested, we have a building and property maintenance opening. We're looking for 3 members for a 1-year term. Conservation Commission is looking for 2 members for a 3-year term, 1 alternate for a 3-year term. Dairy Housing and Redevelopment Authority needs 1 member for a 5-year term. Heritage Commission, 2 members for 3 years, 1 alternate for 3 years, 1 alternate for 2 years. Highway Safety Committee, 6 members for a 1-year term. Net Zero Task Force, 2 members for 3-year terms, 1 alternate for a 3-year term. Planning Board, 2 members for a 3-year term, 1 alternate for a 3-year term. The TIF Advisory, which is the Dairy Commerce Corridor, 5 members for 3-year terms. And the TIF Advisory Gateway, also would be included on the 5-year or 5 members for 3-year terms. And lastly, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, 2 members for 3-year terms, 1 alternate for a 3-year term, and 1 alternate for a 2-year term. So again, great way to get involved in your community, and it's extremely valuable, the work they do. All right.
Maybe if you gave a definition, or a definition was given to people in Derry, maybe they would come forward if they knew what these boards do and when they meet and how long they're there. And
It's a great idea.
a little information.
Dave, will you tell us where that is?
Yeah, on the website, there's a volunteer form,
Oh, okay.
and as part of that form, there's a description for each of the different positions which are available. So folks can go there as to how often they meet, what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, because I was looking particularly at the highway safety, there's 6 people they need. But, you know, do we know what the job entails?
Yeah. Highway safety is really an annual appointment. That's why there's a number of people looking for reappointment every year for that particular committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we've done the town administrator's report. We're on to public hearing, 23-15, regarding resolution number 2023-012, the approval of a supplemental appropriation for the purchase of land on English Range Road for conservation and water system purposes. Presenting will be Dave Karen.
Hey, thank you. Back at the council's meeting of January 17th, the council authorized the signing of a resolution to purchase predominantly conservation land on English Range Road. And while the Conservation Commission is still going through their due diligence process to determine whether the project will proceed, there is an opportunity to segment a small portion of that land for water facilities, for a municipal water system, probably a water tank. So the council wanted to earmark $100,000 for that project from unallocated fund balance, and the council also directed that those funds be encumbered as soon as possible. So we had a first read at the last meeting on February 7th, and now this is a public hearing to use $100,000 in unallocated fund balance towards the eventual purchase of this property.
Excuse me, move to open the public hearing?
So we have a motion to open public hearing by Councilor Weatherby, seconded by Councilor Cherichello. Any discussion? Councilor Cherichello? Yes. Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Councilor Flood? Yes. Councilor Weatherby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Public hearing is open. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this or ask questions, raise concerns, the microphone is yours.
Seeing none rise online, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion to close by Councilor Cherichello, seconded by Councilor Spencer. Any discussion? Councilor Cherichello?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Councilor Flood? Yes. Councilor Weatherby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Public hearing is closed. Great. All right, next, under new business, we have, nope,
Wait,
go
do you
ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm serving you up softballs
Right.
to call me out. You haven't done so yet.
So, just in just quick discussion on the issue here. I just think this is an absolute no-brainer. I mean, the council has been very supportive of conservation in and of itself in the past, and has sometimes helped conservation make purchases just for the conservation value. The fact that this is an area that was previously designated as potential for a water tower due to its height in the vicinity, you know, I think it's money well spent. We get conservation land, and if we decide we want to put a water tower there in the future, $100,000 is a pretty small land acquisition fee compared to if we had to go and find, you know, another location. So, and with that, I will move to adopt resolution number 2023-012 to approve a supplemental appropriation for the purchase of land on English Range Road for conservation and water system purposes. Whereas section 5.1 of the town charter designates the town council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and as such is empowered to purchase real property for the benefit of the town and to appropriate funds for such purposes. And whereas the town council, at its January 17, 2023 meeting, authorized the town administrator to sign a letter of intent to contribute to the purchase of a certain parcel located at 82 English Range Road, which will preserve open space and provide land for municipal water system facilities. And whereas the Derry Conservation Commission is in the process of acquiring the parcel, and the town council is desirous of reserving its share of the purchase from unallocated fund balance, now therefore be it resolved in council that a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $100,000 from unassigned fund balance is hereby approved as the general fund contribution towards this project, contingent upon the completion of the transaction by the Derry Conservation Commission. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Weatherby, seconded by Councilor Katsoukaris. Any other discussion?
I just want to echo some of the same things that Councilor Weatherby mentioned. I mean, if you think about the town in the future, we'll be able to bring water to other parts of the town that need it. This would do it because we need a water tower to accomplish that. So it's a small amount to do that. This is smart move by the council, proper planning, and I think it's very, very wise to do.
Yep. Any other comments? All right, let's move the motion. On the motion, Councilor Cheritello?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Councilor Flood? Yes. Councilor Weatherby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, that motion passes 6-0. All right. Next, under new business, agenda item 23-18, resolution number 2023-014 to authorize the use of bond proceeds for certain recreational facility improvements. And I think I saw Mike come in here. Presenting is Mike Fowler, Director of Public Works. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening to council. This evening, I come part with an update on some of the recreation facility plans that we've been working on over the past 4 years, and also to seek the council approval to repurpose some of the original purposes of the bond fund. So let me just start off with a little brief background. In 2018, 2019, Town Council approved a bond in the amount of $1.8 million for some specific repairs. The main feature within that was $1.5 million to basically gut the existing lodge at the Alexander Carr property. As we then initiated the study, we took in public input, we found that there were some broader needs throughout the community, so that caused us to kind of halt what we were doing from the original plan and then to kind of resurvey from there. So what came out of that was some new ideas, some ideas that we had heard before, and we have meandered along as this process has gone along, and I want to just read off some of the things that we have accomplished and then talk about where we want to go moving forward. So with that bond thus far, you've spent money to engineer the West Running Brook Field. That's a ready-to-go project. We have the permits on that. Unfortunately, the cost estimate for that is well beyond what we can afford at this time, but if, Dave and I have been looking at grants and things of that nature, if that project ever has a funding source, we'll be coming to the town council to look at that. So that's ready to go. If we had the funds to do that. We spent a little money to augment the rail trail phase that went over the Hood Pond Dam. We spent about $50,000 to upgrade one of the playgrounds at Donball Park. And then obviously we threw $200,000 at the skate park in fiscal '22. So all those projects have been accomplished. We also did base paving at Ryder Field to clean that area up. That was done this past year in 2022. So those items have all been accomplished using the bond proceeds. And then beyond that, we had projects that were approved in a resolution in 2021 that have not been accomplished yet, to add lights at Ryder Field, to upgrade lights at Vets and O'Hara, and to upgrade lights at Donball Park. So we bid those projects out. the pricing came in too expensive at this point. So we're going to recalibrate. We're going to look at maybe some of the more, the fields that really need to be upgraded to LED versus those that may not based on the amount of usage. So those projects have all been programmed. They're all within the existing bond. So now where we're at is we're seeking to now change the final remaining proceeds. We have 900 and, let me just get the number right here, it's on the staff report. We have $959,000 of unspent bond proceeds. And part of the requirement for raising these funds, you have to spend within 5 years from when they were raised. So basically, we took the bond out in May of 2019. The spend date would be May 2024. So we're seeking to put these projects moving forward as far as, you know, what needs to be done and what are the priorities. So a couple of items that are relatively new and some good ideas that I think will be well needed as part of this bond proceeds. So number one, we'd like to change the purpose to add in the following projects. Instead of rebuilding from the ground up at the Alexander Carr Lodge, what the idea would be is we'd like to spend $150,000 to renovate what's already there. We took a hard look to see what the bones of the property, the studs, everything seems to be pretty good. It's the fascia on the outside, it's the siding, it's the chimney, there's some interior renovations that need to be done. We've got an RFP that will be rolling out within the next month or two, and we're hopeful, if this is approved this evening, to go ahead and proceed with major renovations during the summer so that that area is ready and available for everybody in the fall of 2023. We also had received a request from the Derry Little League or Derry Diamond Association to put together a number of improvements that they've been looking to do to leverage funds that they already are planning to put forward that they've raised with funds that the town have. And so roughly speaking, some of the projects that they'd like to accomplish would be to reconfigure Vets Field so that it's no longer being used by men's softball. So the idea would be to balance some of the needs of the youth softball programs would be to shorten that field. You already saw that there was a snow fence that had been put out there kind of on a trial basis, and that's worked out really well. So the idea would be to make some permanent fencing. And then in the area from basically where the new fence would be to the existing fence, we have a plan to then add paved parking. So that's always been a shortfall that we're trying to address out there at Vets. So we think that's a good idea to grade and to pave that area. Also out in right field, we've never fully reconciled that area that used to be the tennis courts. We've talked about a bunch of things. It's been cleaned up to the extent that it can, but we've never really felt comfortable that, you know, there was a real plan. And now what's come forward is to look at building, you know, new cages out there. And also we'd like to put a pickleball court in that area. So that would be part of this. And then there's other items that the association would be putting in, such as new concrete pads for the dugouts and then a scoreboard for Vets Field that they'd like to upgrade. So they would be our partner in this. We would be looking to spend $250,000 out of these bond proceeds as part of repurposing that bond. And then, so we talked about Alexander Carr, we talked about Vets in O'Hara. There would be a balance of about $60,000 that we would be looking to upgrade the Alexander Carr playground facility. I've talked to a number of parents that have gone to the skate park and said, hey, it'd be great if we could upgrade, you know, that particular area. We think that's a good use. That playground equipment is at least 22, 23 years old out there, so it probably is due to be upgraded. And then the final provision, we won't address at this point tonight. You'll still have $500,000 left in the bond that will leave unsettled at this point. And the thought process would be if there's any excess from the Hood Park project that we need to cover. We have $500,000 for a budget, but if there's anything that, you know, we end up having cost increases, or you want to replenish the DCC fund, which is a source of funding at this point for that project, you're able to do that, and we would reconcile that in the spring of 2024 as we reach the end of this bond. So just as a quick update on the Hood Park project too, we have completed design, which will include a new pickleball court, a new playground, a new shaded structure, a new small splash pad, new lighting, new security enhancements, and then in the back, there would be some stone dust trails that would be enhanced, which would still leave an opportunity for an arboretum. We've been in contact working with Mark Broussard, working with Pinkerton Academy. So we're really pleased that that plan has come together. The idea is we have a shoreline protection permit that's been filed. We have to get approval from the state. As soon as we have that, that project goes out to bid, and we're building that in 2023. So we've done a lot on this recreation program from that study, and it seems like it took a while to get there, but when you look in the rearview mirror, we've got a lot of things that are going to be coming to fruition in 2023, and we're going to be in great shape there. So there's a resolution that's been prepared to repurpose those bond funds, but we wanted to, I know at one point we raised those, the questions came up, if you were to repurpose the project, would you come back to town council? And obviously that's what we're doing this evening.
Question, Councilor Katsouris, and we'll go to...
Yeah, I have noticed Alexander Carr, the lodge, $150,000, and the playground, $59,000. How popular are they, and how often are they used? I mean, how many kids go down to the playground, and what do they do with the lodge? And, you know, seems like a lot of money.
Sure, so that's a great question. So one of the ideas that we had tried to foster, we have used the lodge for some senior programming. We've used it for some parties. Some groups meet there on occasion. But as time has gone on, when we haven't had as many sledding opportunities, the town hasn't had staffing, we've seen diminished use. And the idea was to put a shot in the arm to try to get that building back to some semblance of what it once was. And now that we have the skate park there, you know, in speaking to that group, there's been some discussion about wanting to host events. So let's just say there was some type of a championship or some type of an event. You'd want to have bathrooms that you could go in. You might want to sell concessions. You might want to do some other things. So that was part of the vision when the Friends of the Derry Skate Park came by. I also would say that the playground itself actually has some appeal, because I've seen some parents that I've had some contact with who like the smaller features. They like to bring their families down and say, you know what, instead of going to Don Ball where there's a lot of people, say, at certain times, they can go to the small park. They can walk from where they live. But that park, the playground itself, the structure has had some repairs we've had to do with it. A lot of the, there's some fading on that just because of degradation from ultraviolet light. So we're looking to upgrade that just from a safety standpoint alone. So there's some other things we want to do in there, but those are the reasons for those two expenditures being requested.
There's no money in, that we can touch in the Alexander Carr. You know, they left a lot of money for recreation and stuff. We can't dig into that and find out if we can use some of that money towards this?
Sure. One of the things that we do in conjunction with Mark and with Dave is each year we use proceeds from the trust to cover operating expenses. So what we typically do is if we're out there and we have to maintain, you know, the hill, we have to maintain the building, those expenses are already coming out of the Alexander Carr Trust. And that's a recurring, because we can only touch the interest proceeds. So we have to be careful about overcommitting on that. And I believe we used some of that to build the skate park as well last year. So we just want to be conservative, if you will. But since these bond proceeds are available to us, I think this is a prudent use at this time.
Thank you.
Councilor Cherichello?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that was one of my questions. We're going to spend $150,000. What are we going to actually, what's the plan of using the building? I think you mentioned some of it, but are we sure that's what we're going to do, or?
Yeah, so one of the things that, you know, back when we were talking about a gut of the building and it was going to be $1.5 million, you know, I had some heartburn about that original plan because I had the same questions. How much is the building going to be used? What's our return on investment, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that, you know, we continued to hear was, well, let's restore the building back to its original glory, meaning you could come in, you could use it. Well, that's just not, I think, relevant in today's world. We don't have the staffing. We're not getting as much snow as, you know, if anybody noticed, we just couldn't have an event, you know, for snow where you could go in and kick your feet back in the lodge. But I've talked to Kim Walsh, and she's, told me that she does get a lot of requests for these smaller type, parties and these smaller type activities. I think at one point when we analyzed this, we came up with 38 functions that were done prior to, this is like 2019 or 2020, prior to this bond really kicking in. So the idea would be, though, with the skate park groups, there's an opportunity that, again, they had talked about bringing some, people, and we've seen even in the early, we were only open for about 8 weeks or so, there's a demand for the skate park, and I think we've drawn a lot of people. There were a lot of weekends where the parking spots were full, so I think we need to be aware that there is an opportunity for these buildings to be used for whatever the purposes are. So I think putting money back into it, because if you don't, you're starting to see some rot on the boards on the side. I showed that, I think, as part of our CIP presentation. The roof's in good shape, but some of the other areas, the chimney is not. We just did some repair on that. So we've got to do some things to even just keep the building standing. But the use, I think you're going to see some uptick, especially if we bring this back up to, something that looks serviceable.
So I kind of heard two things, Mike. I apologize. So I heard that we could rent it out to groups. Is one, and then the other one is the people that use the skate park will utilize it in what capacity?
So it could be function. So let's just assume there's some type of a function where they want to bring in skaters regionally, and they say, look, we'd like to sell whatever, popcorn, candy, and whatnot. We would certainly make arrangements for that. They could use the restroom facilities, and obviously there'd be a rental that would come back to the town as a result of that. And that's open to anybody. I know we've sponsored things that maybe doesn't fit at Vets Hall for, lifeline screenings, for blood pressure checks, things of that nature. Those have been hosted down there as well.
Okay. Second question I have is Hood Park. Are we doing the fountain in the middle or no?
Oh, yes, we are. I neglected that. Thank you.
Is it going to be lighted?
It will be, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Flood.
I missed something. Hood Park, they doing anything with hockey rink?
Other than the lighting. So the only thing that's going on in there is we're going to upgrade the lighting from the old halogen lighting to LEDs, and there'll be new poles. But in terms of the actual structure, the boards were painted, I think, about 2 years ago. And I noticed as I walk through there, usually, I have noticed there's been a lot more use on the surface. So we may need to look at doing some painting. We did some painting of the surface probably 3 years.
Crack repairs done.
Yes.
I know the leak, it's being used. I just want to make sure it's still going to be there.
Yeah, that's more on the maintenance side, I think, than a capital improvement. But, we'll keep monitoring that along with the basketball courts too.
It's staying. That's
Yeah, nothing's changed. There'll be a pickleball court built new that's immediately on the other side of the boards towards the playground.
cool. Thank you.
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alexander Carr Playground, $59,000.
Yeah.
There was a lot of complaints about the playground that Derry people could not even bring their kids there to play because they were bringing busloads of people from Manchester and Londonderry and using the facility, and the Derry people couldn't even use it. What are we going to do about that? I mean, how do you allow outsiders to use it and Derry people can't, and yet we're paying for it?
All right, so what you're referring to is at Don Ball Park, where we had the splash pad, and obviously weekends there were crushes. So prior to COVID time, 2019, 2018, that was chatter. It was on social media. There was a lot of criticism for that particular item. I pay taxes, we can't come to the park, et cetera, et cetera. We kicked around some ideas internally. This was actually back when Eric Bodenrader was the director, and talked about, could we go to a pass system? Could we go to some, but again, it comes down to either you're going to put some physical security up, meaning fencing it from all 4 sections you come in, or you have to staff it. So what we ended up doing was COVID actually took care of most of the problem. In 2020 and 2021, attendance was not an issue in terms of that. Enough people stayed away. 2022, we had a good summer, but I don't recall that we had any issues as far as anybody calling the recreation office up saying, hey, I see all these vehicles from, parts of far Massachusetts or whatever. One of the things that we'll continue to monitor is, because our staff, obviously, we can't say to a non-resident, it's an open park, we can't say, hey, you can't be here, unless there's rules that are propagated by the town council or a fee structure. But remember, fee structure comes with having to staff it, having to make sure, and it changes your liability profile slightly as well. With it being free, you don't run into issues if you have some type of an issue that you have to defend liability. You can say, we're immune because of recreation statutes. So there's any number of reasons why we would probably want to keep it free. We do make some money off of the concessions. But to your other point, there was the comment about buses coming in from other parts. So that was when we first opened. There were some summer camps that we identified. We went out, we reached out to them, because they all wear the same t-shirt. They were Monday through Friday, they were inundating. So now what happens is, if there are any groups, we limit the size of the group, we limit the days that they're there, they pay a fee to come to the facility. And so that's managed. And I don't believe we've had issues probably in the last 5 years, because we've limited the number of groups. We don't allow them to come every week. They might be able to come once a year, but not certainly every week. So we've tailed that down. We listened to what people had said, and I don't think that's been an issue in recent years.
I can almost remember when the park first started and they opened it. It seems to me that you had either something put on your car saying that you were a resident, or a badge or something. This was when they first started, which was how many years ago?
Yeah, it's over 20.
How many?
Over 20.
Seems to me it was longer, but anyway, I remember you had to have something on your car saying that you were a resident, or, a pin or something, but that's gone past, so.
Right.
Well, another benefit that might offset that is, because we are doing another splash pad, right?
Yep.
Right.
At Hood Park. So that might alleviate,
That might alleviate
Yeah.
some, right. Okay.
spread out the
'Cause I know that was the
non-residents.
problem, that area people couldn't use it because outside was work.
Right.
So we gotta watch that.
Did you have anything, Councillor Spencer?
My question's been asked by other people.
And then my only question I'll get to my question, then my possible concern. So back to the Vets Field. So you mentioned we're adding batting cages or cage?
It'll likely be one long net. We haven't really worked the details of that out yet. We'll work with the association as far as the specifics.
But at least a batting cage, which makes sense given the amount it's used. Is there plans for them to fenced in pitching or netted in pitching area as well?
You talking about a bullpen per se? Yeah. Again, I think we can look at that. The only problem, typically when the baseball fields I've been to, you have to have that bullpen nearby. So particularly when you're pitching, you want to set up a mound. That may be something that there's some free space that can be set aside. That may be something for, a representative of like Brian or somebody to reach out to Jack Leahy, and they maybe can take a look at that. So yeah, we can certainly be flexible with that.
And the only reason I bring that up is because obviously those are two valuable pieces to any credible softball or baseball organization. And I think given our size in the state, we should support that. My concern is pickleball. You mentioned pickleball going back there. And if there's space, by all means, let's do it all. But if there's not space for, if our baseball and softball fields don't have space for batting cages because we're adding pickleball, or plenty of space for parking because we're adding pickleball, that's a concern. And it's nothing against pickleball. Pickleball is off the charts famous right now, like everyone's playing. So my fear is lack of parking. If we're adding pickleball back there, it's just going to attract more parking that we don't have. So I guess if we're making sure that there's a batting cage in a pitching warm-up spot and parking, and there's still space for pickleball, by all means, it makes sense. But if we're if we're putting that in and not taking care of the intended use, then that gives me heartburn.
Yeah, and I think, again, getting back to the genesis of this study, we found that there were broad needs across the community. So pickleball came up as one. You know, we heard we don't have enough courts. There's too much demand. Out-of-towners are coming to play on our courts, right? So we heard that. So obviously we've adjusted by definitely planning one for Hood Park. And the thought was in that free space in center field at Vets Field, we could squeeze one in. We're going to coordinate,
Okay.
if we get this squared away tonight, there'll be further discussion with, Little League and the softball program to make sure that we can accommodate their needs, and we can certainly update the plans accordingly. But the main thing is parking. I think everybody has identified we've got to improve that, and I think we certainly can.
100%.
Yeah.
First and foremost, again, you add one of the most popular sports in pickleball out there, and I don't think that helps the parking. But I love it everywhere else. And the last thing I'll say is amazing job to Kim and to you and to all of our leagues. I mean, talk about what I heard tonight was a list of accomplishments, and if the council votes for all these things, it's finally bringing our recreation up to a level where it should be. So we're investing in that, and that's important. That will attract people and keep people here, which we need to do. So thank you. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to adopt resolution number 2023-014 to authorize the use of bond proceeds for certain recreation facility improvements. Excuse me. Whereas Section 5.1 of the Town Charter designates the Town Council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and whereas the Town Council previously authorized a supplemental appropriation for recreation facilities pursuant to resolution number 2018-067, and whereas the Town Council previously authorized the Town Administrator to implement Phase 1 of the Recreation Facilities Plan pursuant to Resolution number 2020-031, and whereas adequate funds are available to further invest in recreational facilities, now therefore be it resolved in Council that the Town Administrator is hereby authorized to obligate the sum of $459,145 from the recreation facilities bond for the following projects: baseball facility improvements, primarily at Vets and O'Hara Fields, $250,000. Alexander Carr Park Lodge renovations, $150,000. Alexander Carr Park Playground structure upgrade, $59,145. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilor Weatherby, second by Councilor Katsoukaris. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just want for the public to know that, again, we had mentioned this. This is from a previous bond that we took out in, was it 2019? Mm-hmm. 2019. So, and at that time, the bond rating was, do you remember what the bond rating, what we got for a rating? Was it like in the twos?
Yeah.
So we got it. We got the rate at the right time. So this is not spending new taxpayer money. This is money that we bonded a few years back at a very, very low rate. You're never going to see those rates again. And so I just want to bring that point up. I do like the fact that we're spending it where it's going to be used and utilized. So after COVID, the kids need a place to go out and do this kind of stuff. So I'm happy to support that.
And I'll just kind of echo a little of that, as particularly with the success of the skate park so far. I mean, I really think if there's a facility there, it's really becoming a destination. Where it's great to have people come to Derry from out of town, and I'm sure they don't just experience the skate park. They probably maybe go to a restaurant, coffee shop. It's getting people to kind of discover Derry, and I think that's all a win-win.
Mike, I just had a question I should have asked. It's not going to change my vote, but if you mentioned it already, I apologize. But when do we expect some of these renovations to be complete?
So specific to the
I guess, down the line, each of them.
Yeah, so
Perfect world.
Yep. So Alexander Car Park, with an affirmative vote tonight, we have an RFP ready to go. We'll likely have that started sometime like in June of 2023, hopefully completed by the fall. So I'm going to say sometime like in October of 2023. We talked about the playground. That can easily be bid out this summer as well. So those two projects can be taken care of without any issue. I talked a little bit about the lighting. Okay, so the lighting project, that's still within the bond, that has not been spent yet. We put a bid out in 2021, I believe, late in 21, and the prices were too high. We're going to rebid that, and we'll see where that plays out, but obviously we need to get that rolling as soon as possible as well. And then as far as the Little League improvements, the field improvements, what will happen there, we have to design what that has to be done out there. We'll be consulting with baseball and softball. So more than likely, those projects will extend into 2024.
Got it. Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions?
One real quick one, Mr. Chairman.
Of course.
I just found it very interesting that I was getting emails in support of this before I even got my agenda package, so I thought that was quite interesting.
Well, they've seen the...
Was that anything to do with, did you have a lot to do with that, Mr. Chairman?
I let organizations know how to reach us.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done that the entire time. Skate parks, solar. Absolutely. On the motion, Councilor Cherichello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Weatherby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. That motion passes 6-0. Please give Kim our thanks and keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Councilor comments and liaison reports. Councilor Spencer.
I should have mentioned it when Tina was talking about the rabies clinic, and it clicked in afterwards. Just two comments on that one. Tina did mention that for the 3-year, you need to have proof of rabies vaccination. That needs to be the actual rabies certificate. We can't take a previous license that just says that. And if you do bring a cat, I said we'll do cats, but please, please, please bring your cat in a carrier. If you don't have your cat in a carrier, then let us know before you take your cat out of the car. That's it.
And are you performing any shots?
I am not legally allowed to give a rabies shot, but I will be there coordinating the day and hopefully holding the animals that need to get their shots.
Thank you. Councilor Katsoukaris?
No.
Do you have anything?
All set.
I do have something.
Go ahead.
Someone else talk first.
No? Go.
You want me to go first?
Yep.
Okay. So I've come across this a couple of times on Facebook. And it's very interesting because it's usually a thread in the Londonderry Facebook page. And I've seen this at least 3 or 4 times, and it kind of interests me, and then it kind of bugs me. So I'm going to talk about it. Somebody keeps mentioning something about, well, we don't have a place to throw our trash. And when you read the thread, they always say, oh, go to Derry, they'll take the trash. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And they're like, well, we always do. So I'm wondering, again, I've mentioned this a couple of times, and there were a few times where we actually had people check in to see if Derry residents were utilizing that trash. But this is like the 3rd time on Facebook that I've read where people are like, I've been doing this for years. And I don't think it's fair for the Derry taxpayers to be subsidizing the Londonderry taxpayers, Construction debris is one thing, and I get that. But regular household trash, again, kind of irks me because our taxpayers are paying for that. They chose to do a different model where they're getting pickup delivery. And that's what they need to do. They need to fall in that line. So if they can't fill their 1 barrel, that's their problem. It shouldn't be our problem. So I just don't know how we get around that. I go on a weekly basis to do my trash. So sometimes,
Good point.
we have staff there. Sometimes we don't. I don't really see them checking stuff. But anyway, I just figured I'd bring that up.
Councilor Katsoukaris.
Just a comment on that. The little house that was there, it used to be manned all the time that you couldn't get in unless you had a sticker on your car or if you didn't, then you were stopped where are you from, or they'd give you a sticker. But I don't see that being manned at all. You know, every once in a while you see somebody there, but other than that, people come and go and you don't know where they're from. And I agree with what you're saying, it's true. Let's do something about it.
Any other comments? Councillor Floyd? Come on.
Come on.
How can you not?
Hey.
A week ago at Pinkerton, there was another heartbreaking tragedy.
Yeah, your mic.
A week ago, there was another heartbreaking tragedy at Pinkerton. I don't know how they can be avoided. I just know we need to do more for our youth and our children. Talking tonight about the parks is, heartwarming, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. I just want parents out there to know that they need to have the tough conversations with their kids. They need to ask the tough, ugly questions and take the answers and think about them and validate your kids' their feelings. Every kid has a cell phone. Every parent should make sure that the 988 number is already preset in it. Kids prefer to text. They should know that they can text home to 741-741, and those numbers are monitored 24/7. And just, like I said, sit down with your kids, ask them the questions you don't want to ask them, and listen to their answers. And I don't know, that's first step. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flood, and thank you to you and Danielle for all you guys do for our community and bringing this to light. I know it's your mission, so thank you. Any other comments?
Move to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn by Councillor Katsoukaris, seconded by Councillor Spencer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Oh, you get that working?
Good job, Doug.